Hello everyone, my name is Astronauti, also known as Victoria, and this is my very first movie review ever posted onto YouTube. I really wanted to make this video because I was really interested in seeing the new Barbie movie that came out, because I am a huge fan of just Barbie in general and a huge fan of dolls. I used to be a doll collector, but I don't have many dolls, but I would just collect them occasionally, like here and there, if I just really felt like it, if I just had money that I wanted to spend just laying around. And I will collect dolls one day, you know, if I get more money. I don't know if that's possible, but I don't have any Barbie dolls. The thing about Barbie nowadays is that the quality is a bit poor. I do follow doll channels on YouTube and they like cover Barbie dolls and they just don't interest me very much. I just love the aesthetic of Barbie. I love Barbie herself. I actually love the Barbie movies, at least the old ones. I never actually watched the newer ones. I'm a Barbie fan. I have been for a while now. I know like the history of her and stuff like that. So this is coming from a perspective of someone who is like a Barbie fan, not like a super fan. I don't own any of her dolls or anything. I just am a fan of her and I just like her movies and aesthetic and stuff like that. And I especially love, you know, what she has done for the doll industry, of course, because I have these dolls that I have. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I usually am a massive fan of TV shows or movies that are based around dolls. I just like stuff like that. It's hard to explain. So I was really excited to see this movie. Like when it was first announced, I was like, oh my god, they're making like a live action Barbie movie and it looks really cool. So I was really excited to watch this movie. So I watched it. I actually watched it a couple of days ago and I was kind of putting this video off because even though I wanted to talk about it, this movie does delve into political stuff and if I'm going to talk about this movie, I'm going to have to talk about that. Look, it's the Barbie movie's fault. It's not my fault. It's the Barbie movie's fault. The Barbie movie brought up the conversation, so yeah, I'm just reciprocating the conversation by talking about it. And I do think that the message that the Barbie movie tries to portray is important, but the way they handle it, it could have been done better. You know, as a woman, I have to say, it could have been done better. I didn't actually expect the Barbie movie to be a serious movie. It's not like a serious movie. Like, it's not like freaking Schindler's List levels of seriousness or anything. Like, it's still a light-hearted movie, but what I mean is that it delves into serious subject matter that pertains to the real world, and I really didn't expect that. I thought that this was going to be, you know, hey, fun movie. That's what I expected. That's what I wanted. But it got to like political stuff, and I just don't like it when movies get into political stuff, and I'll talk about my thoughts on that later. I just wanted to have a fun time, but sadly, this movie wasn't a really fun watch, and it was mainly because of that. I do have to preface this video by giving a disclaimer, especially when we go into the more serious topics, okay? Since this movie wanted to be fucking serious, I have to get serious. So this is just my opinion. My goal is to just give my opinion out there. I'm not trying to change anyone's minds. I'm not trying to indoctrinate people. I'm not like, oh, if you don't agree with me, then you're an asshole, you're a loser, you're dumb. I'm not like that. I understand people have different perspectives. People have different brains. People have different upbringings. Everyone is different, okay? We all have to understand that. And we shouldn't criticize people for their opinions. The people that are criticizing people for their opinions should be the one that are fuck, I ruined what I was gonna say. People that criticize other people's opinions and use their opinions to hurt others, that is something that should be criticized. Okay? And let me know, if your opinion is different in the comments. I would love to read them as long as they are respectful. Okay? Oh yeah, and this review also contains spoilers. I forgot to mention that in this video, but this review contains spoilers. I don't know why I didn't mention that, seeing as that's pretty important. Mind my voice, please. I just woke up, and if you can smell my breath through this microphone, through your device, then damn. Because I just woke up, and even I can smell my own breath. Shit! This smells like shit! Okay, so ultimately, I did not like this movie, which is a shame because I, of course, really wanted to like this movie, but I did not like this movie. And we're going to get onto that. But first, I have to say what I liked. I mainly loved the look of this movie because everything under the surface is shit. The fashion was amazing. The fashion was totally my style. I'm talking about Barbie herself. Since Barbie is a fashion doll, she needs to dress fashionably. And I actually wasn't expecting her to dress like in outfits that is right up my alley. Like, I would put myself in everything that she wore in this movie, except for the rollerblading outfit. And also the cowboy outfit, I wouldn't put myself in that either. Okay, maybe I would. I was just looking at what she was wearing and I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. I want to wear that right now. My favorite outfit that she wore, I'm not sure if I can if there are images out on the internet of this outfit, but it was near the end of the movie and she wore like this yellow dress and it was so cute. I loved it so much. And they're actually dolls of Barbie in these outfits that was worn in the Barbie movie, and I was like, I told myself I wasn't going to get any more dolls, but I have to get at least one. The fashion was the best part of the movie, tied with the sets. So this movie wasn't CGI, at least for the most part. I mean, I didn't do too much research into it. I believe that they were walking around in a set and the dream house was actually a physical structure. She wasn't just walking around in a green screen. I feel like I was the most impressed with the beach. So the sets and the fashion were the two best parts of the movie. That doesn't bode well for the movie itself, okay? You don't want the sets and the fashion to be the best part of your movie because a movie, you're essentially telling a story, right? This isn't a fashion show. I also liked the references to actual Barbie dolls. The Barbie in the black and white bathing suit, that was the very first Barbie that was ever produced, ever. Then there are different characters that are in this Barbie movie. There was Skipper and Midge, and sadly, that is it. Those were the only ones. The rest were just called Barbie. And I kind of had a problem with that because not every Barbie is called Barbie because Barbie has different characters. Even Kens have different characters. The only other Ken was Alan. There are different names for different male dolls. There are different names for different female dolls. I guess on their appearance or something. That kind of bothered me because not all Barbies are called Barbie. I think that the blonde-eyed, blue hair, white Barbie should be called Barbie, and everyone else should have be called different. For example, the white brunette girl is usually called Teresa. It didn't really give the other Barbies a sense of individuality. I did expect them to have different names. Barbie has different characters. It's not just Barbie, okay? That would make Barbie bland. Also, my favorite characters in this movie were the CEO men. I just thought that they were very funny. Moving on to what I didn't like about this movie, okay. First of all, I did not like the story. I am so sick. I've been sick of these movies that have established characters that come from interesting worlds. Just fuck off to the real world, to Earth anyway. I want to explore their world. I came to this movie to escape reality, only for reality to be shoved in my face. I'm not just interested in these characters as characters, okay? I'm interested in their worlds too. And that's why it sucks. You know, I saw the trailers. I knew that Barbie was gonna fuck off to fucking real life. Hold on, everyone. I'm an idiot. I forgot to complete this outfit. I was gonna put this headband on, but I forgot. Okay, and I'm not gonna redo this video. Okay, I'm too stuck in. I'm just gonna continue with this headband because I fucked up. And I knew something was missing. God fucking damn it. Okay, so where was I at? Anyway, yeah, I saw the Barbie was gonna fuck off to the real world, and I was like, I still want to watch this movie, but I fucking hope she doesn't stay there. She spends half the movie there, and in the end, surprise, 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 she goes and stays in the uninteresting world instead of her bougie life back in Barbie Land where everything was fucking perfect, blah, blah, blah. And everything looked a lot better and shit like that. Like, come on. And I forgot why too. I forgot why. It's just like, I checked out at that point. I was like, we almost done? Good. And then everything was going in one ear out the other. So yeah, that sucked. Okay, so the story itself. So the plot basically goes... The plot is just nonsense. But anyway, the plot is that Barbie lives a perfect life up until suddenly she's starting to become like a real girl. But not really a real girl. She's still a Barbie doll. It's just that her owner, who is in the real world, so I don't know, it's like a different dimension. So the Barbie doll is like, has a conscience that is in a different dimension. For example, this doll, her conscience is in a different dimension, and she is bloody, real girl in a different dimension. And it's because I don't fucking know, okay? It's confusing. So she's in a different dimension, Barbie Land, right? Look, there's dust everywhere now because her hair is full of dust because I don't touch them. So okay, Barbie Land, blah 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 blah. And the owner is like depressed or some shit, and she's thinking about fucking or some shit. So that's why Barbie's thinking of dying. I don't know. So she basically has to go into the real world in order to find the woman and cheer her up. But it's like, how exactly? What are you gonna say to her? What are you gonna say to her? You're gonna say, "Oh, I'm the Barbie that you have." What? The plot is so dumb. So then she travels to the real world. Ken tags along, and then she finds the woman. The woman somehow doesn't question it, that she is her Barbie or something. It's just a dumb plot. And sometimes a dumb, weird, strange plot can work, but in this case it doesn't. It's just very stupid, and it seems very forced. It seems like, oh, we need to have this established character going into the real world because that's a thing that people like. I don't know if people like that shit. So we need to have this established character go into the real world. How do we do that? It's very stupid. I did not like the plot at all. I was just sitting there like, I don't even think the writers understand what the fuck they are writing down. And then with Ken, the reason he really tags along is so this side plot can develop. And oh Lord, okay, this is where the disaster really starts to strike. Like a goddamn meteor that crashes into a prison and it has radiation in it and turns the prisoners into supervillains, okay? I wonder where that reference is from. Check my channel if you want to know where that reference is from. Ken walks around, I believe it's Miami, which would make sense because I believe that Barbie is meant to take place in Miami or something. I believe that was it in Life in the Dream House, I believe. That animated show that I actually like. I actually like that show. Yeah, I would have actually preferred it if this was like Barbie Life in the Dream House, just like stylized take on Miami. That would have been a lot better instead of what I just described back then, but whatever. I've complained about it enough. So Ken has a stroll around Miami and he suddenly thinks that, wow, the men in this world are a lot cooler than the men in my world because the men in my world dress like bloody, I don't know, cotton candy. He's a guy, you know. I'm sure that not many, you know, manly men are into Barbie. I don't know how this happens, but just by like walking around and has this epiphany that men rule the world, and it's just by him walking down the street and him going into this expensive building and looking at men in expensive suits, and then that's how he realizes that men rule the world. Okay, I feel like that could have been portrayed a lot more authentically, you know, instead of him just walking around. Because here's the thing about this movie. They show... No, they don't show. They tell and don't show. And this is something that I'll be getting into more later. This is the first instance of them telling, I guess, an important message, but not showing it. Okay, so here's the thing, and here's my opinion on this. It's kind of a fact that the people in power, the people in top positions, most of them are men. But I don't think that it's like some sort of grand conspiracy that women are just barred from these important high up positions because they are women. I mean, there are female CEOs, there are female politicians and stuff like that. The majority of people that are more high up there are men, but I don't think it's some sort of conspiracy. They don't really give an explanation of why Ken thinks this way, because it's not like women are really barred from doing important jobs, you know what I mean? Okay, and so Ken goes back to Barbie Land. He basically has the men take over Barbie Land, which I actually find to be quite funny. They basically take it over by like making it less pink and taking the women's jobs and liking horses, which, I mean, I thought that liking horses was a girl thing. I guess it's a guy thing, I don't know. There's something called horse girls and, you know, I've met actually a lot of horse girls, you know. You can spot them. You can certainly spot them. They instead make the women like their servants. I don't know how Ken got the idea to make the women servants and make them relinquish all of their jobs, because like I said before, there are women that are in positions of power. It's just less common. I don't know if they did this either because they wanted Ken to be really extreme with things, or if this just meant to be like pertaining to real life or something. Like, for example, like they think that women just wait on men hand and foot, or they think that this is what men want the real world to be. I hope that is not those last two. So I'm not really sure if this was meant to be like a commentary on real life or anything, because if it's like the other two, like, oh, this is what all men want, or this is what the world is like. Those two just aren't true. Women don't just wait on men hand and foot. Okay, that's just not a thing that happens anymore. Maybe if they were making like a commentary on what happened, you know, many years ago, then yeah, I would understand. But Ken was looking at shit that was like today, now, and that doesn't happen now. I mean, I'm quite conflicted with what like the intention of the movie with this, because I mean, people might be thinking I'm looking too deeply into it, but this movie pertains so much to reality that, I mean, I have to really like, what was their goal with this? I have to really think about it. And as for, you know, them maybe thinking that, oh, men in real life, they actually want this. They actually want women to wait on them hand and foot. I can't dive deep into their brains, but I don't think it's true. I just don't think it's true. Also, an interesting thing to note, when Ken stole Barbie Land, he stole Barbie's house too. So this makes me wonder, is Ken's house worse than Barbie's, or is Ken homeless? Okay, I just found it interesting and weird that Ken stole Barbie's house. It wasn't even the best house on the block, because there were like other houses that were the same as hers. So is Ken a hobo? Okay, so I'm gonna get into the climax of the movie. So when she meets the woman, he's actually a woman, it's not a little girl. They were trying to make it out to seem like it was this little girl. It wasn't a little girl, it was her mother that was hurting or something, and was making Barbie go into the real world to begin with. So they find her, then they go back to Barbie Land. And then the climax happens when Barbie tries to take back the land. She basically comes and she's like, what the fuck happened? And sadly, I have to say that the climax was the worst part of the movie, because the plan to take over Barbie Land, I was like, what? Just left a really bad taste in my mouth. So basically what happens is that the woman who I don't like the woman that Barbie had to go and meet in order for her to go back to normal. I didn't like her. I found her to be annoying, and this was the main reason why. So basically, Barbie is upset and stuff like that, and the other Barbies are like brainwashed, I guess, but they're not really brainwashed. They just accepted the Kens. They didn't even show resistance. They just accepted the Kens into like taking the leadership role and shit like that, and taking all their jobs and enslaving them and shit like that, whatever. And then she goes on like this tirade of like why women are oppressed and shit like that. I don't know where it came from. That she's basically like, oh, being a woman is so hard. Being a woman, you can't dress too sluttily, but you can't dress too conservative. You can't be too thin, but can't be too fat. You can't be too loud, but you can't be too quiet. You can't be too smart, but you can't be too dumb. And don't get me wrong, like, I think I agree with her. You know, I do agree with her, but it's just the fact that it came out of nowhere. Like, this wasn't built up to at all. She just starts complaining their weight wasn't a factor in this movie. The way a woman dresses was never a factor in this movie. How smart a woman is was never a factor in this movie. The real kicker is that this snaps Barbie out of her depression. And it's like, how? How did that snap you out of your depression? What? Hearing a woman complain about the difficulties of being a woman and living up to these unrealistic expectations, it made you snap out of being sad? Like, that would make you more sad. Like, it's portrayed as being like this really empowering speech, But it's not a speech, it's just her complaining and bitching. And then they use it as like this plan to snap the other Barbies out of this trance. They basically put them in a room. And then she basically complains and like reiterates all the shit that I just said to them. And then they're literally like, oh my god, yes, you go queen. Being a woman is so hard. The fact that that snaps the other Barbies out of their trances, it just doesn't make sense. Instead of complaining to them and that snapping them out of it and, you know, saying, oh, this is why we're oppressed, this is why we're this is why we're that, they should be like, hey, you know, you're better than this, you know, you can do so much. Like, you were, you know, a doctor before you were a maid, you know, you were so intelligent, you should be your own person. You shouldn't just wait on someone hand and foot. You shouldn't just exist for other people. That would have been great. I would have been like, yeah, but instead she complains about how oppressed we are, and that's meant to be empowering. Like, that's not empowering to me. Someone reiterating the problems that women face, that's not empowering. It's a pity party. I don't understand what is so empowering about being a victim. There's nothing empowering about being a victim. If I am a victim, I want to overcome it. I don't want to be stuck being a victim. And it's like in the movie, it's like something that's meant to be inspiring is not. Like, you're basically telling the audiences your gripes with the way, you know, the expectations of women are. And yeah, like these are problems, and you can tell the audience, hey, you know, everyone is an individual. No one is perfect. That should have been the main focus of this movie, especially since this is a Barbie movie, and Barbie has been ridiculed in the past of having these unrealistic expectations. Okay, the climax doesn't get better. Okay, so after the Barbies have snapped out of it, they need to sort out the Kens because they are still misogynist. Basically, the woman that Barbie cheers up or some shit, she basically says, oh, we need to play on their insecurities and something and manipulate them, basically saying that men are inherently like insecure and they need to be manipulated in order to get a woman's way. I don't know if she was implying that all men are like that, or if she was implying that just those men are like that, and she could easily like spot it. I don't know. Yeah, I would have much preferred if they prove themselves to the men. Hey, you know, we can do all these great things. We can do all these great things too. But instead, they like, the first thing they do is be manipulative towards them. Like, that's not very hero like I don't want to root for manipulative people, because the thing about the Kens is that I didn't see them as being like evil. I just saw them as being like confused because, and I'll get to this later, but it's because they didn't have an identity of their own because they were tied to Barbie. I hope that, you know, she wasn't like, oh, all men are, you know, insecure and stuff like that. I really hope it's not that, because that would just be like, are you fucking... No. Nearing the end of the movie, I actually really did like the heart-to-heart that Barbie and Ken had, which was what I was surprised happened. Basically, Barbie apologized to Ken. I was surprised because she was kind of a fucking asshole, honestly. I mean, I didn't really touch on that, but she was kind of a fucking asshole towards Ken. But I mostly just saw that as, it's not really like a massive bitch. She just wasn't interested in him, you know, as a partner, you know, which is, I was very upset that Barbie and Ken did not get together because it's Barbie and Ken. Come on, it's Barbie and Ken. I know that they broke up, but they got together. They broke up like decades ago. They got back together in 2009, I believe. So Barbie apologizes to him, says that she should appreciate him more or something like that. I don't really remember if she says that, but there's like a thing in my mind that says she says that she appreciates him or something like don't know. I guess that's what she's saying. She's basically said that, and that every night doesn't have to be girls' night, because at the beginning she's like, she basically tells Ken to fuck off because it's girls' night. And she's like, girls' night is every night, so you should fuck off. And yeah, she's like, you know, sometimes we can hang out. Not every night has to be girls' night. I don't have to be a bitch to you and tell you to fuck off every night or something like that. They don't get together, but it's whatever, okay? It's not the worst part of the movie. If they didn't get together, it still sucked. I was still like, darn, Barbie and Ken didn't get together. Ken also says that he's sorry, you know, rightfully so, because he did kind of become like a fucking dictator. He basically cries. I was actually surprised that Ryan Gosling was able to shed tears and fake cry for the Barbie movie. But yeah, anyway, I wonder what that was like, trying to muster up those tears. He's basically like, Barbie, like, I don't have an identity besides being stuck with you. Like, kind of having an identity crisis. Like, when people think of Barbie, they think of you. When people think of me, they think of you. Kind of puts into perspective, you know, why he was acting the way he was acting, because he wanted to have that identity. And I don't think this movie touches on that. Like, the way he was acting, you know, the psychology, you know what I mean? He was acting like that, wanting to take over Barbie Land. Barbie Land will be mine and stuff like that. Because he doesn't have his own identity. He had an identity crisis. He wanted to be known for something other than being tied to Barbie. You know what I mean? But the movie doesn't really touch upon that. This was really the first time. This was me basically dissecting the movie. The movie doesn't touch upon this. You know what the movie does at the very end? They destroy this moment. Okay, this moment was great. And they destroy this moment, and I'll fucking tell you why. This moment was basically the two genders being fair towards each other. That's basically what this moment was. You know, coming to the realization and like having a conversation, a proper conversation, reconciliation and stuff like that. Important, right? No. Okay, so here's what happens at the end after this scene. So basically what happens is that the men want like a job in like the courthouse or something, or was it like the in politics? I don't exactly know, but they wanted like a job in these positions or something. They wanted positions that were quite high up or something like that, and basically the Barbies laugh it off and say, you get like, this position is like a really low position. And I thought at first, I was like, oh, because they don't have any experience, right? Well, the narrator chimes in and she's like, oh, maybe they'll get like a position one higher than that. I don't know how many years exactly, but it was like many years. Like, oh, it's like quite a snarky remark. Oh, just like in the real world or something like that. That was pretty backwards. Like, you just did like this whole emotional moment, like with these two like reconciling and like understanding each other. Then you fucking go 12 steps back. What was that? We didn't have that scene of like the two genders understanding each other, you know, apologizing, you know, maybe I should be more fair towards you and stuff like that. No. What was the point? Just to push your bitterness that women didn't have many job opportunities, 100 years ago? All I can say is, get over it. Things are not as bad as they used to be 100 years ago. If this was 100 years ago, I'd be fucking on board. But it's not 100 years ago. Get the fuck over it. Shitting on men what their ancestors did fucking 100 years ago. Fucking stupid. Pushing your bitterness about that. That message was squandered right away. So I thought at first that the message was going to be like equality and shit like that. And I was on board. I was like, yeah, equality, woo. Then the message was like, men ain't shit. And then the movie ends. I was like, oh, okay. Get me out of this theater. And then they was playing fucking Ice Spice and Nicki Minaj. And I was like, oh god, really get me out of this theater now. Okay, so my camera cut out. Luckily, I didn't have a lot left to go. Not a lot at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sadly, you know, this was a more serious video. I tried to have this be like a more of an escape from reality, but for some reason, Barbie did not want to escape reality. Despite Barbie herself being very unrealistic. Barbie wanted to tread onto some serious territory, so I had to tread into serious territory. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye everyone, bye.